Worst date movie.
Probably one of those really gnarly rape movies from the 70s.
Rape movies always get bumped to the head of the list. I think that the worst date movie of all time is Aladdin.
I took a date to see Aladdin.
You took it? How'd that go?
Went fine.
It went fine? All right.
All my dates just ended with handshakes and regret.
Aladdin takes Jasmine on a date. And what do?
They fly around on a carpet.
And they go to the Great Wall of China.
Oh, yeah.
They go to India, and I don't know where else they go, but they go all over the world. And I imagine that if I was a woman watching Aladdin with a date, I'd say that is something I would like to do tonight.
But don't you feel like the sense of wonder will make the date that they're on seem that much more wondrous?
A little more wondrous, but not, look, there's the pyramids, and hold on, we're going to China.
A modern person is not going to reasonably expect that out of a date.
You could. We have supersonic jets now.
You could not go to all those places in one night. Even if you had a supersonic jet.
Well...
No, just knock it off. You have to concede that what I'm saying is correct. And seeing these things from a window of a jet is not the same as being on a carpet.
No, it's not.
Point Sloan.
But you can take a carpet on the jet.
Point Sloan. I've got a bunch of movies that I've never seen before. You don't know what they are. Every episode I'm going to spring one on you. We'll watch it and talk about it. Welcome to the basement. Movie subgenres are what we're watching here on the show up until Halloween. This is the final genre that Craig drew from the sealed envelopes. Last time he picked gangster.
Yeah, see?
This was a very difficult choice for me to make because gangsters have been around as long as the movies. But when in doubt, you can always go with the classics. This film introduced the phrase, "Yeah, see?" to the world, and it is Little Caesar.
Ah! Second movie in 1 year with a guy named Rico.
Oh, of course,
yeah.
Johnny Rico. Released in 1931, this was the film that catapulted Edward G. Robinson into stardom. Speculation has it that the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization Act, or RICO Act, a federal anti-organized crime law, got its acronym from Robinson's character, Rico.
And you later made a reference to that in Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I did.
What do you want, Rico?
Let me join back or I will open a me case against you.
Yeah, said nobody got, not even yourself.
That joke makes no sense. The author of the novel on which this film was based, W.R. Burnett, was furious that no actual Italians were cast in the film.
I've never seen this, and I was thinking recently that I should see it.
Craig, if you want to become a gangster, and I know you do, you need two things. A smooth ride, and the ability to write things down and have the possible option of erasing them later. Hopefully this gift will help you with both.
It appears to be a car, but it's actually a pencil sharpener. Check it out. Before Transformers, kids, you had stuff like this.
You sharpen the pencil and then you stab the guy in the eye with the pencil. And then you ride off in the little car.
Do you have a pencil?
There you go, yeah. Here's one. There you go.
Here.
Give her a spin and see how she handles. I think it works. Okay, tough guys. Get up against the wall and sit down on the old leather couch as we watch Little Caesar. It's making me nervous. Little Caesar, a book by a man who would be angered by our production because we only cast whiteys.
Little Caesar begins with Rico and Joe sticking up a gas station and killing some guy. And then they go out for a nice dinner.
Spaghetti and coffee for two. All right, sir.
They're both talking about their dreams. Joe wants to get out of the crime racket and become a dancer.
I don't want no dancing. I'm figuring on making other people dance.
Rico says he's tired of all this small-town crime and he wants to go off to the big city and become a big gangster man, don't you see? See?
Rico gets a job in Sam Vittori's gang.
Oh, they're 100% all right. There's Tony Pasta.
Yeah,
and driver Otero.
Yeah, white guy, hey?
Killer Peppy.
Yeah.
Kid Bean.
Yeah.
And this one here, Scabby.
Yeah.
A smart guy he is.
Just like that scene in Goodfellas.
Yeah, it's totally like the scene in Goodfellas. Gonna go get the paper, get the paper.
Oh, Little Caesar, huh?
Yeah, sure.
And Joe gets a job dancing at the Bronze Peacock, New York's premier gay nightclub.
That's all you had to do to be a dancer back then? Dancing was simpler back then. You too could dance this way, with one half of an easy lesson.
Arthur Murray Remedial Dancing School. And he starts palling around with a female dancer who he might be falling in love with.
What's that? What are you doing with that?
It's in case you try to lead. Vittori takes the gang to meet with the big boss, Diamond Pete Montana, who tells them to beware of Alvin McClure, who's the new crime commissioner.
He's putting the screws on, and make no mistake about it.
Rico and the gang decide they're going to knock over the Bronze Peacock on New Year's Eve, and they need an inside man, Joe. Joe's really reluctant to do this. He's got a good thing going.
I can't, don't you see?
I'll be too busy doing a simple waltz. But Rico tells him,
You're going to be in on this, and you'll like it. And if we get in a jam, you'll have to take a chance with the rest of us.
Got that?
I just want to dance. New Year's Eve comes and they knock over the nightclub. They steal things. They hit people.
McClure is shot and killed by Rico.
He goes back to the hideaway. He goes back to the hideout and he tells Vittori what happened.
I had to take care of a guy.
Who was it?
McClure.
McClure.
Slowly I turn. And Vittori says, how could you have gunned down McClure? You're going to make things difficult.
Flaherty's downstairs. A couple of dicks with him. They're coming right up.
I'm Flaherty. These are the dicks. When it comes time to split up the money, Rico tells Vittori that he's going to decide how the money gets split.
He decides that he's a bigger man than Sam Vittori.
Well, maybe the boys have got something to say about that.
Gulp. And Vittori backs down. Now Rico's in charge.
The getaway driver, Tony,
he crashes a car and he goes and hides out with his mama. He lives in the cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
He has a very, very sad farewell to his mother, and he goes off to confess his crimes to his priest. You know how you can track down Tony? Just follow the line of sweat that's going down the sidewalk. Rico finds out, and he kills him.
Rico continues to climb the crime ladder.
The mob decides to throw a banquet for him.
The liquor is good, so they tell me. And the food don't leave nothing to be desired.
But I don't eat like you normal humans. I photosynthesize.
Sure is good to see all you gents.
Yeah, I'm a walking plant.
During the banquet, Rico has his photo taken, which might be a mistake, and they get a visit from a cop named Flaherty.
What is that bull one in here?
Bull and two dicks.
Trying to pin them for all of their organized crime.
Joe overhears a conversation that Arnie Lorch is gonna gun down Rico, and he quick calls Rico's gang to tell them what's happening. But Rico gets shot anyway.
Fine shot you are! No buzzard like you will ever put any cuffs on Rico.
So you're saying you'll never take me alive, policeman?
Joe Massara got the picnic called up. We couldn't find you in time.
Well, that was white of him, all right.
Absolutely Caucasian, not black of him.
I want to say a little on it tonight.
Rico and the gang break into Arnie Lorch's hideout, and they tell him to hit the road.
If you ain't out of town by tomorrow morning, you won't never leave it except in a pine box.
Now Rico controls the entire north side of town. He's a huge gangster, and he keeps company with Otero, his little friend.
Now you're famous.
Right, they'll get to be famous like me someday and live in an attic. So what does he do? He starts paying attention to fashion.
Ah, you look great, boss.
Yeah, but it feels terrible.
Don't you look fine?
Hmm? Yeah.
He's playing some subtext that I think they couldn't get away with after the Hays Code. Speaking of subtext, this fire is not symbolic at all. Huh?
Oh, hello.
Wow. Huh?
No.
Ah.
I don't trust him.
Yeah.
I'll soon find out if Flaherty's been working on Joe after I've had a little talk with him.
Okay, sweetie, see you at dinner. Rico meets up with his old buddy Joe again. He starts getting a little nervous about Joe, thinking that Flaherty, the cop, might lean on him to get information. And he tells Joe that he's got to come back and be a full-time member of the gang again.
We don't want no softies spilling things.
I ain't gonna spill anything if that's what you're scared of.
Joe doesn't like this because he's in love.
And Rico tells him if he doesn't come back, he's going to kill Joe and his woman.
He has to kill his only real friend. But as he's about to do it, he chickens out. He goes yellow.
They run out. Oh, go to Cats.
Yeah, oh my god, I love that show.
You think you're magical, do you, Mr. Mistopheles? Are you magic enough to stop a bullet from a gun?
Rum-tum-tug this, huh?
Meow. Meow. The cops show up. They gun down Otero. And Rico escapes and goes into hiding at Ma Magdalena's. Ma Magdalena. Ma Magdalena.
My Magdalena, Malina. She ends up stealing all of his money and sending him out to live like a bum on the streets.
Give you $150. If you be a good boy.
And he's back in the gutter.
Months later, he's living in some flop house. 15 cents a night. Now, $150 could get you 1,000 nights in a 15-cent room.
1,000 nights of adventure. He's drunk, and he overhears a couple of hobos reading a newspaper article about him.
He was yellow, just like Flaherty said.
Yeah, Rico smash!
Get me Flaherty and get him quick.
I may be screwy, but this sounds like Rico.
Granted, it's a pretty easy impersonation to do.
And he says, hey, this is Rico.
Rico. R-I-C-O, Rico. Little Caesar, that's who.
R-I-C-O. Rico was my name, oh.
You want me? Come and get me. I'll show you who's yellow.
You come meet me and we'll have a showdown.
They'll have to build him a special noose to get that swell head of his through.
Oh, that was a good one. About the size of his head.
I get it.
And he goes out on the cold winter night. He hides behind a billboard that has his old friend Joe on it, and the cops chop him in half with a Tommy gun. Leaving him to die with some famous last words.
Mother of mercy. Is this the end of Rico?
And it is.
We don't want no softies spilling things. Is a quote from the movie Little Caesar,
Yes, it
which
is.
we just watched.
I have no liquids near me. You have nothing to worry about. I thought it was a very fun movie, very fast-paced, moved along quite briskly, almost too briskly.
How much of the visual and narrative language of the gangster genre do you think was established by this movie?
First of all, the mere presence of Edward G. Robinson, who is the face of being a gangster, him and Jimmy Cagney. That is just what you think of when you see a gangster. A lot of the architecture that comes into the setting with the German Expressionism, that is picked up a lot by film noir later on. Angles are strong architecturally, but it does also seem like the world is collapsing on them, or just about to collapse on them at any moment for the entire movie.
Which I think you can always say of Rico, even when he's in his ascendancy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's so reckless and kind of living on the razor's edge that, you know, things could topple for him at any moment.
Yeah.
Which they inevitably do.
You have Rico on this end, and then you have Tommy and Goodfellas, 60 years later, and they're basically cut from the same cloth.
Mm-hmm. As revolutionary as it was, it still used a lot of silent movie storytelling devices. Like, they still hadn't quite mastered the narrative of the talking picture. Like
Title cards.
They use title cards.
Yeah.
The heists that they do, the weird crossfades that they did in that heist.
That was amazing. It's like they actually would double shot. When McClure steps forward, he steps forward twice, and I think it's just trying to show how memory works, and that didn't happen in American movies in 1931.
Right. But it still seemed really primitive to me.
I would be surprised if there was another actor before Edward G. Robinson who mumbled as part of his character. His whole meh, which became so famous, and it's impossible not to kind of make fun of it. Yeah, that's how people talk in a way.
But not how actors talk.
Yeah, not how actors talk. He's half animal because he only has these weird groaning noises he makes half the time. And also just the fact that he has that face.
Right.
Yes, gangsters are usually not beautiful people in the movies. He's the lead in a movie, and he has his face like a toad. What's this thing doing on screen? And I think that's beautiful.
And he's so magnetic. When he's murderous, it's scary.
It's almost surprising that later in his career, he could play nicer people, lovable people even.
Scarlet Street, he plays like the milquetoast husband. You know, he really did have a range.
Even though he seems like I'm a tough guy the entire time, there are certain times where he shifts his character.
When he gets his picture taken.
Yeah.
That little reaction that he does to it. He just looks like a boy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of vulnerability that comes out of that character, too. There's some controversy surrounding this film because a lot of people saw the character of Rico as a closeted homosexual.
I saw that while I was watching it.
I think we both did. And in case you think that's a modern interpretation, our good friend W.R. Burnett, the author, after he saw the finished film, wrote an angry letter to the producers asking them why they turned his character into a homosexual.
I thought it might have been just like, oh, men used to lie in bed together back then. I don't know. But there is definitely a feeling between Rico and Otero, and also Rico and Joe, and Rico's jealousy of Joe being with Olga.
That shot in the mirror. That's why the Hays Code was invented.
Yes. So since this is before the Hays Code, Joe gets away at the end. Joe used to help Rico kill people back when they lived out in the country. Mm-hmm. He assisted in the big robbery, and he gets to go off and become a billboard-worthy star at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Good job, Joe.
Bad job, America. Well, folks, that was Little Caesar. It's a landmark gangster movie, and if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. What are you waiting for?
How else are you going to learn to take over the world of organized crime?
When you're not watching Little Caesar, you should be going to welcometothebasementshow.com. That's our website. You can see all of the articles and the things that we have posted there, and there's a PayPal donation fund that you can donate to support this show. What a good idea. Our recent donors include Daniel, who writes, I love the show. You made me look at films in a whole new way. Keep up the show and the commentary and the comedy. Thomas, who writes, been watching the show since day one and have loved every episode so far. This shows something special. Martin, I always find your comments both insightful, very entertaining, and very funny. For God's sake, keep on doing this. Herman, hey guys, me and my brother Juiced love Welcome to the Basement. It makes me really interested in movies I'd otherwise never heard of. Ken, you guys do a great job. Keep up the good work. Robin, thanks for the great shows. Moritz, Tom, David, and Raven. Thanks, all of you.
Thank you very much.
You did a good job. Keep up your good work. Time for Seen It. Seen It is the part of the show where we read your comments about movies that we should see on this show, but we break the news to you that we've seen it.
Matthew Burrell says, have you seen Observe and Report with Seth Rogen? I thought it would be a silly movie. In reality, it's an extremely dark comedy. Seen it.
Seen it. I really like Ray Liotta in that movie.
I don't remember him being in the movie.
He and Seth Rogen.
I don't remember that. That movie is really, really dark.
It was unfortunate that it came out at the same time as that Blart Mall Cop movie because a lot of people saw those as the same movie, but they're just like opposite ends of the...
It's Taxi Driver as a mall cop.
Lucas the Chin writes, have you seen Wonder Boys? And if so, do you think it was an incredible film or just a talent bomb? Seen it.
Seen it.
And I think it was really great. I don't think it was a talent bomb at all. I think it was more of a talent grenade. It's
based on a book by Michael Chabon. It's about a guy writing his second novel, and I believe it was Chabon's second or third novel and not being able to finish it. A writer writing about a writer not being able to write.
Right.
That should be hackery, but he does it so well that I forgive him on it.
I really like it when there are movies about intellectuals that are engaging and that draw you in and that aren't just exercises in intellectual wankery.
Yeah. Gerard Carlton asks, have you seen In the Loop? Yes, I've seen it.
Seen it. The guy who made that, Armando Iannucci, he also did Veep here in the States. He really does nastiness well.
Yes.
It's very difficult in comedy to be truly nasty and still be funny, yet somehow they do it.
Peter Capaldi is the nastiest person in it. He is a wonder of vileness and insulting.
Philip B., The Ice Harvest with John Cusack. Seen it.
Seen it.
I love that movie. I went into that movie with really high expectations, and it still exceeded them.
Oh, nice.
It's so cold. You can feel the cold and the chilling, impending doom that's hanging over everybody. It's a frozen, cold movie.
Jake Withy asks, have either of you seen In Bruges? Because that is one hell of a movie.
Seen it.
I saw that right after I went to Europe for the first time. And there's a scene where it's a chase scene through the old part of town. Mm-hmm. Ray Fiennes stops at a canal and there's a bridge and he pulls out a map and he's like, all right, there's a river. And he's trying to find himself on the map. And I'm like, That's someone who has traveled.
That's Seen It, and that's our show. We hope you had a good time with us and Rico and his gang and his adventures. And mother of mercy, it's the end of the show. Please visit welcometothebasementshow.com. Hey, our next show is our Halloween show. It's going to be a little early, but you're going to be busy enough during Halloween, so you'll want to watch this nice and well in advance. We're going to be dressing up in costumes as some of the characters from the movies we've been watching, and we're going to be watching a scary movie, Craig.
Really?
We just did sci-fi in July, but are you ready for another smorgasbord of movies?
I will take it.
All right. You're going to pick one of them, and you're going to bring it to me for our Halloween show.
All right.
These 5 movies cover all the horror bases. You want zombies? You got 'em. In George Romero's 1985 film, Day of the Dead.
The third of the Dead movies.
Or how about vampires? How about the most famous vampire ever? But not the one you're thinking of. This is from 1958. It is from Hammer Studios, Horror of Dracula.
Nice.
Twilight taught us all about teenage angst-ridden vampires. But what about teenage angst-ridden werewolves? For that, you gotta go all the way back to 1957, and I was a teenage werewolf. Or if you prefer your horror to be ancient, you can't get any more ancient than ancient Egypt and 1932's The Mummy.
Ah, Karloff.
Lastly, any truly great horror movie needs the 3 S's. Spirits, Satan, Shatner. You get all 3 of them, and it's all spoken in the international language of Esperanto. Incubus.
Really?
Are you up to the Halloween challenge?
I think I can do it.
And we'll see you next time. Good night.
And it's remained sharpened.
Put that pencil down, Craig.
Hey.
Come on, I'm your buddy.
Hey.
You know I'm your friend.
No, I don't think so. Not tonight, you ain't.
Is this the end of Rico?